great ice age shaped the world we live in today. A mass of water poured into the oceans as the ice caps melted. Sea level rose 400 feet. Floods swallowed up the best coastal lands on Earth. All traces of the people who'd lived on them vanished beneath the sea. Could this mass flooding have been the inspiration for hundreds of flood myths from all around the world? We're told the flood myths are just that, myths, and should not be taken seriously. But in India, new evidence from the bottom of the sea is showing substance to the myths. This is the Gulf of Cambay in northwest India. In late 2001, scientists doing pollution studies made an astonishing accidental discovery. "25 miles from shore, at a depth of 120 feet, they picked up traces of two ancient cities covering a large area of the seabed. The discovery threatens to overturn everything that archaeologists have believed about the origins of civilization. They found two cities the size of Manhattan, with massive walls and plazas. And man-made objects from the submerged cities have yielded carbon dates up to 9,500 years old. That's about 5,000 years older than any city discovered by archaeologists anywhere. It means we could be dealing with a civilization lost at the end of the Ice Age. Perhaps even one of those that the flood myths speak of, which flourished before history began. I'm keen to test the idea that ancient civilizations could have flourished in coastal areas during the Ice Age. When the ice melted and the seas rose, the floods obliterated the coastal civilization. The survivors recorded the trauma in myths. Christians, Jews and Muslims all know the story of the biblical flood and Noah's Ark, and Plato's myth of Atlantis is universally famous. But India may have the oldest flood myths in the world. I'm going there to investigate. I begin my journey in the ancient town of Dvārakā on the tip of the Gujarat peninsula. It huddles at the foot of a spectacular medieval temple dedicated to the god Krishna, the most famous of the Indian gods. The temple is built on top of earlier temples, dating back more than 3,000 years. It commemorates a mythical city, said to have been established by Krishna before the flood and destroyed.
On the same day that Krishna departed from the earth, the ocean submerged Dwaraka.
The temple is a shrine to Krishna, and every day a new flag is raised to commemorate the myth of the submerged city. Every year, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims flock from all corners of India to mingle in its courtyards and bathe in the ocean's sacred waters. But would the myth point the way to an underwater find? In the 1980s, the Dwaraka flood myth received a boost when ruins, immediately presumed to be those of the lost city of Krishna, were discovered in the bay in front of the temple. A leading archaeologist estimated on the basis of a hunch that they were dated to around 1500 BC. But since there's no real evidence for that date, I want to take a look at them myself. A group of marine archaeologists from India's National Institute of Oceanography have agreed to take me diving at Dwaraka.
This is Dvārakā.
Yeah. So we're moored over this concentration of ruins. So are these mainly individual blocks? Or are they
No, individual buoys which we tied for the particular structure.
I see. Okay.
So now the blocks are scattered.
Yes. I'm working with marine archaeologists Sri Sundaresh and Dr. Gaur.
There's no wall as such. Because we have to go down here and we should come
We
up
follow
on
the line of the ridge. Okay. What's hard looking at structures underwater is to be sure whether strange-looking objects are just weird natural formations or whether they've been cut and shaped by man. It becomes clearer when you find clean-cut individual blocks like these. The next question with any underwater site is, how old is it? This site is so shallow and close to the shore that recent earthquakes could have submerged it, not necessarily rising sea levels at the end of the Ice Age. So it wasn't a big surprise to learn that Sundaresh and Gaur are now dismissing these finds that are merely hundreds of years old. This clearly can't be the ruins of the ancient mythical city of Dwaraka. Stone anchors of a type made in India in the Middle Ages prove that the ships of that time once moored here.
So anchors precisely we are dating between 8th century AD to 14th century AD. So I think structure also may fall in that period.
So we're talking actually about a medieval
yeah,
site.
medieval period.
Do you accept the conventional dating of 1500 BC or so for this site, or do you think we should put a big question mark over that date?
I think you have answered the question.
We should put a big question mark over that.
I mean, we have not found any material evidence on which we can be sure about the date.
Right.
Till we find any datable material artifact, we will have to continue our search as and when we can.
Yeah. Have you ever gone like 10 kilometers out that way?
So for 10 kilometers away from here, no, we are not dived.
The
We have gone up to 2 kilometers.
To support my theory of a much older origin for civilization, I need a flood myth directly connected to large-scale underwater ruins more than 8,000 years old. I now know that Dwaraka's ruins definitely aren't that old. But what they do testify to is the continuous flooding of this coastline. And the science tells us that we're here inland to what was once an enormous antediluvian domain extending more than 50 kilometers out to sea. The archaeological surveys here haven't even begun to test. They have to go out, far out from shore and into deeper water. The myth of Dwaraka is part of a larger and older cycle of Indian myths that speak of a flood survivor, Manu, who becomes the father of future mankind. Like the biblical Noah, Manu builds a survival ship, takes the seeds of essential plants as a way of restoring agriculture, rides out the deluge in his ark, comes to rest at last on a mountaintop. Typically, Manu is described as a great rishi or sage and as a master of yoga. His mission is to rekindle civilization after the flood. Could science give this myth any support? Was India ever flooded in such a cataclysm? To find out, I traveled